Howdy, all, and welcome to another high-powered episode of the High Voltage Live Show. I'm your co-host, Willie Snyder with Nat King Code, joining you from the Mile High City in Denver, Colorado. And I have two awesome people with me tonight, and I really appreciate having both of you in the house tonight, James Stallcup Jr. and James Stallcup Sr. It's really awesome that you guys can bring us this awesome content all the time, and we really appreciate using all your content there, Senior. You have some of the most amazing stuff that I've seen in the industry, and it's really awesome for us to be able to use it every week, and for you to come on and do it personally is a real honor, to be honest. So we have a great show for you guys
here every now and then.
It's a real honor to have
his head a few times to come on.
I have to take my belt to him every once in a while. He gets out of line.
There you go. But I really want to give a big shout out to all the NEC for Dummies. We're almost hitting 25,000 now. It's really awesome for that group to be growing so fast. And thanks for everyone that participated in Nat King Code. It's really awesome. The Myth of the Week is a lot of fun for me. And we're going to actually switch it up this week. And we're going to let Senior go first with the topic. And then we're going to come back to the Myth of the Week towards the middle of the show. Probably do the meme later. But it's a real honor to have you, Senior. And we'll let you get started.
All right. Let me cue up and go on. All right, we're going to start the topic of the week here. And this week we're going to be covering NFPA 70E personal protective equipment. And James Stallcup Sr. is going to start it. And I'll let him take over. Then I'll click the video on for you that you want me to play too, okay?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
This illustration kind of shows a arc flash with a current limitation. And notice it's about 22.6 Ka. And I'm kind of showing you a clearing time of a half cycle. The protected device upstream will clear in about a half cycle. And I'd like you to see by using a current limiting device or energy reducing type device, just how the available short circuit current due to electrical arc is reduced. Go ahead, James, go to the next. Now here we're ignition it. And the next one will show you now when the electrical arc develops. And you can see the amount of energy that's released there. But now, if you'll visualize this thing, if you're looking at a peak current, going straight up in a waveform, and you get up to the peak, well, down in the very bottom, you'll have a little red area that's a half cycle clearing time. And that's what we're looking at here. We're clearing in a half cycle the protected device supplying this area. Now, see how it's reduced? Have we reduced that? Now, a lot of you folks out there know if you're using fuses as a current limiting device, you go to 240.67 in the NEC. If you're using a circuit breaker with an energy reducing type reduction, you go to 240.87. So keep that in mind, and you can see how you could use fuses or circuit breakers to perform this task. Let's go to the next one.
The next one. There you go.
Now notice the results. Let's kind of look at the hearing to the right top side of the illustration, 133 dB. Now, OSHA 1910.95, if you want to take that down, they say 140 dB. If you start getting that value and exceeding it, you need to use some kind of hearing protection. And a lot of times people call, and they want to know, well, where do I go actually to find if it's a advantage to me to use earmuffs along with the canal inserts? Then just go to OSHA 1910.95, and it'll take you through the steps and the procedures to let you know when the energy level would require you to wear both or one, and recommend the best ones to use. And then you can
Hey, not to interrupt you, Senior, but the OSHA standards here that we have, they require hearing protection above 85 dB.
Okay, there's some places like that. I think Texas does the same thing. If you're above 85, you have to have protection, but OSHA goes up to 140.
Nice. Okay, 10-4.
But they're not saying, they're saying that you can't be any higher than that.
Right. Oh, gotcha. I think a jet taking off is like 150 or 140, somewhere in there.
And I appreciate you bringing that up, because Texas does the same thing.
Gotcha. 10-4.
Okay. And interrupt anytime you want. That's fine with me. And if you can interject something to help these folks, or go right ahead. And anyone out there that can do the same thing. Okay, let's go to the next. Wait a minute. I ain't through here. But you look at the 144 degrees Fahrenheit there, then that's not going to burn the face, beyond a second-degree burn. You got your 504 pounds a square foot there that you would have. And look, there's no temperature below that shirt. Right. And then the maximum heat at the hands is 137 degrees Fahrenheit. Go ahead, Bill.
Oh, no, I was just basically saying that it was a good illustration. I like it.
That's pretty good. Busman and them have some good information about this, but I thought this might work real good just to show that if you don't have some kind of reduced energy level device, such as a circuit breaker or fuses, in accordance now again with 240.67 fuses, 240.87 for circuit breakers.
Is there any kind of requirement where you're required to have a face shield?
Yes, we're going to get into that. Yes, sir.
All right. Welcome in the house, Robert Gregory. Good to have you, sir.
Do you want to show the color flash glass now?
No, I just rather go through this presentation, and then we'll get to it. And if they have questions or Bill wants to add, he can. Now, this is what we're trying to prevent. You see, this person didn't have the appropriate PPE on, and you can see how severe this person was burned. Now, this fellow said we could use this illustration. I won't tell you the company that it happened at, but James and I have done a lot of training at this various facility. And this individual was going home from work to watch his little boy play Little League. And they called him on the phone on the way and said, drop by such and such facility and change out a 480 volt bolt-in 30 amp or 20 amp breaker, best I remember. And what happened, it went into electrical arc condition, and he didn't have any PPE on or anything like that. He used just regular old hand tools that he used to do sundown work, when he wasn't working at the plant. But you can see what happened to this guy. And on all that was, and I believe it was a 30 amp bolt-in breaker that he was changing out. It got, gone to fault.
Wow.
But you can see the damage to that man's body and all over.
Well, welcome in the house, John Arrayes. Really appreciate you having me, sir. Really great to have you in the house.
I like the Hookem sign too.
Okay. We might need to do a moment of silence later for the TCU Horned Frogs.
Oh God. We're not going to talk about that.
Who are you talking about?
I'm a Longhorn fan. I don't know what you're talking about.
We don't know what you're talking about, man. Hey, listen, that still is a very sore place. Yeah, I thought we'd do better than that. I guess old Saban was right when he said maybe they wasn't the best team for the championship game.
Yeah, true.
Okay. Let's forget about that before I start crying, and let's go to this illustration. And notice this guy's in a 40 cal category 4 type uniform. He's in a moon suit, and he's fixing to remove that device and rack it out the best I remember. And notice if you're 12 cal or less, you could, you just have a face shield, a balaclava, and dress as that, as we'll see. But if you're exceeding 12, you have to be in a moon suit, so you'd have to go to a 4 there for this particular task. Now, to calculate the calories per centimeter squared, you'd go over to the Annex D, and you'd use D.3.3 to start with, and they have the simple calculation there that you could do there. Or you could do the job task method if you stayed in those parameters there. So you'd have to make sure you stay within that, as we'll discuss. But everything's normal here. He's just fixing to gain access here.
See, that's what's interesting. All the ladies say I'm a little bit more sexier in the moon suit, so I don't know what it is about
That's
that.
because they can't see you.
Yeah, might be that. That might have something to do with it.
Well, they've come a long way with the moon suits, the monkey suits, what we call it out there. Now, this is what the code would require or tell you in 110.4D as in dog, that this is an abnormal condition. And of course, by the code now, if you stand in that limited approach boundary, you need a sock hood or a balaclava that you would need to wear. But he's dressed up enough for what he's doing there based upon the calorie. But again, if he should be standing in that limited approach boundary that we'll be looking at coming up, he would need to have that sock hood on. But this is abnormal because he's gaining access and having access to energized conductors and circuit parts. And so basically, you have to dress up for that. Let's go to the next.
Hey, stupid question for you, Senior. If you want to go back to that last one real quick.
Go back.
So if he was on, if that dead front was on, would that be a risk category 1?
If what now?
If the dead front was on that panel board, would that be a risk category 1 because there's no exposed energized parts?
No, we're going to look at that next.
10-4.
No, okay, that would be considered in 110.4D as in dog. That would be considered normal operation. And if it was circuit breakers, you'd go to NFPA 70B as referenced from 70E 200.1. And as long as you maintain everything properly in that panel board at, say, 480, 277, or whatever the voltage, in that range would be, 240, 208, whatever it may be, you can even switch those, with the cover on and everything. But you have to meet normal operation of 110.4D.
So that was my question, basically, is it becomes abnormal operation once the dead front is removed, correct?
If he removes that panel board and gains access in there, then most all your requirements are said, yes, he would need to do that. But there are other folks that interpret that to say, as long as he just removes the panel cover, he might not need that on. But everybody I've talked to, you're going to need your equipment on because you're gaining access into it. Now, he's doing a job task. He's tightening a screw. So, he could go through the tables, and there's 3 tables that we'll see we could use, or we'd calculate it there. So, but as long as that covers them on.
There's a lot of
Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. There's a lot of confusion with this. That's why I just wanted to ask. So go ahead and continue.
Yes,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
And some companies, they take the management risk that if it's been maintained in accordance with 70B, the maintenance standard, that they could remove a cover and go to that table 130.5C. That's the table. And that would give you a no PPE requirement.
Okay.
But
gotcha.
Not many companies will allow that.
Okay.
And then, of course, here this person has an ATPV type uniform on, 8.2 cal per centimeter squared. Now, if we go over, I believe it's around page 10 the 7D document. If you folks have your 7DE, go to about page 10, and on the left-hand side of the page, look at arc rating. And it will tell us there that the ATPV is an arc thermal performance value. And then the other value that they have is a EBT, which is a energy break open threshold, where energy hitting that uniform could cause it to break open in some manner. So you would get the definition of it. And of course, you're looking at fire resistance as well as arc resistance when you see those values on your equipment, and you'll find that spelled out to you on page 10, I believe it is, left-hand side of the page under arc rating.
All right, cool.
And then, of course, now this is where we would go to determine what type of canal inserts we could use, and if we needed maybe to use, say, earmuffs too. And that's OSHA 1910.95 B2 that deals with the 140 dB rule. And you can...
Right, see, like when you're working on fire alarm, you have to always have the 140 dB protection, or else you just go crazy from the alarm going off all day.
Yeah, and those are the kind of things. And like you said, when you look at 1910.95, it goes through scenarios where OSHA wants you to wear hear protection.
Yep. And see, that's the thing that I learned doing fire alarm is we had some areas that were 70 dB, and our fire alarm equipment was listed at 70 dB. So you have a problem where they're not going to hear it over the ambient sound of the plant running, but at the same time, the plant personnel in the plant aren't required to have hearing protection. So
back years and years ago, in these classrooms, they had these clocks, and we had some clocks that were out of sync. And so I was in the main control panel there trying to see just each one and try to get them to work. And I was up on the ladder, and this gal came in that worked in the principal's office there, and she looked like Marilyn Monroe. I mean, she was a beautiful girl. And she come up and started talking to me. And have you ever taken a screwdriver and you started going into something and you knew, you're not supposed to do that? And I hit the wrong thing, and I sound the alarm and cleared that whole school. Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
And the principal, he come in, and I thought, well, here it goes. I'm in trouble. And he walked up, and he said, hey, man, he said, I'm glad you did that. He said, that wasn't called for, and everybody did everything right. And he patted me over the back, and he said, I'm not going to say anything about this. He said, I'm glad you did that. But nice. It scared the devil out of me. But, those alarm systems, you get into a lot of stuff with those, but it explains a lot of what you need to wear based upon sound hurting the eardrums and damaging your hearing and so forth in the 1910.95 when you go through the whole subpart there.
Yeah, we had one where it was a service call. One of the guys went on, and it was a residential service. It was one of those meter stack systems. I think it was a 2000 amp, and the lights were dimming. And he went over there, seen a screw glowing, and to me, I would have just told him, "You guys are going to be out of power for the rest of the night," and I would have shut that thing down. But he thought maybe I could get in there and tighten that screw. And so he reached in there with this screwdriver, and boom, that thing blew up. I mean, he had sunburn on the side of his face, and it rolled trucks. It set off the fire alarm, emptied the whole place, and we had to spend 24 hours rebuilding that service. And, from now on, I learned it's way better to just shut it off than try to be that cowboy and just put the screwdriver in the wrong place.
Well, it's better to get you an orderly shutdown if you can. Yeah.
Yep. 10-4.
The only place, a lot of them, they don't want you to do it. And folks out there know this is where they have computers and things like that. They just don't want it shut off for any reason. And
Yep,
sometimes we stick our neck out when we shouldn't. All right. If, anything else, we'll go to the hand protection, and this is 70E130.7C7. And if you look at that section, it talks about where you could just use a leather glove with a liner inside, and you could even exceed 10 calories per centimeter squared up to 12 cal on some of those gloves. And then in some cases you need to go in and use leather gloves and rubber protectors and so forth. But we can find those in our tables that we're going to look at, and when we get further into the program. This is just recognizing that you do need gloves, and then of course you need insulated tools in accordance with 70E130.7D as in dog.
Yeah, and Robert makes a good point that you don't want to have any kind of hearing loss based on one of those incidents or anything. That's a really important topic. So appreciate you bringing that up, Robert.
That's true. Oh yeah, and like Robert says, I mean, if you work around motors, there's a lot of the old guys now that can't hardly hear at all working around just motors running all day.
Yeah,
and before at 71 or 72, OSHA just didn't exist. I mean, we did a lot of things we shouldn't have done, really.
Tempor, agreed.
Now, looking at this table in 70E 130.7C, then it gives you certain like blankets, covers, gloves, line hose, sleeves, and how often, they should be tested and so forth. And basically, if we keep any of those items in over 12 months, they have to be retested and recertified. And gloves, every 6 months. And this goes into the procedure of certain types of equipment that we use every day. Now, we have tables, 2 tables in 70E. One table that we have is equipment that we wear, and then the other table is equipment that we do not wear. And we'll go into that as we get a little further into the program.
Tempor.
Now, this is where up to 12 calorie per centimeter squared, then I can have a sock hood. I like to say sock hood because that's easier to say to me than balaclava. But you pick that up in 130.7C3, and it goes through the head protection and the type of headgear that you would wear and so forth. And you can see that guy, hell, he's scared already. By the look on his face. But he's got a category 2, I think, uniform there, and he's set to do certain work. But whatever he's doing doesn't exceed 12 cal.
He's probably my apprentice. That's probably what it is. I'm like, I'll get him to go do it because I don't feel like it.
But I tell you what, if you have any sense, we used to work on stuff that was very dangerous. They just tell us be careful, don't get shocked out there.
Yeah.
They didn't tell us we was working on a stick of dynamite. But the difference, back when I was a young guy out in the field, transformers were very high impedance.
Right.
And, for example, if you had a transformer supplying a building and it gave you 1,000 amp output, if you had a 4% impedance and you divided 1,000 by 4, that's about 50,000 amps, isn't it? That it would give off. Right. Now bring it down to 2%, like some of you boys are working out there and gals. Now 2% into 1,000, you're looking at 50,000 there. At 4%, you're only looking at 25,000. I said that backwards. I'm sorry, but
I always do that too, Senior. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
and I'll take all the hate mail for you.
And that's one thing I always worked with transformers that had a higher impedance. So the available short circuit current from the transformer through the conductors usually were pretty small in most of the stuff I worked on without you got into industrial sites. But, you boys and gals out there now, you're working on some stuff that can be very high because they lowered the impedance on those transformers, the utility did, for them to be more efficient. and provide more power. Now you can find, this guy's in a moon suit, but he's got his safety glasses. When they used to have a big problem, they'd say, well, if we wear a moon suit with a shield, we don't need our safety glasses. So 2 sections have to be looked at in 70E to understand this. If I just looked at 130.7C4, no, I don't need safety glasses underneath that shield. But if I go over and read the second section, that they work hand in hand together, and look at 130.7C, 10C, it says, yes, you do. You need safety glasses on as well as your shield there, where it's a hood or a safety shield, whatever, you need your safety glasses under it. So make note of those 2. And if Bill wants to, he can put this presentation on, and you guys can download that out there, you guys and dolls, if you want to. That's up to you, and if Bill wants to do it or not. Go to the next one.
Oh, dude, I'm always putting them on social media. One thing I wanted to say about that, Senior.
Yes.
One thing that I want to tell everyone when you're dressing, one of the things you always have to remember, and I say this every time we do one of these presentations, you always have to remember to take your belt buckle off. No metal is allowed in that restricted access zone. And for me, being a nice buff guy that I am, I wear a belt buckle, and I know James has one that's a little bit bigger than mine, but you have to just make sure you take that belt buckle off, because that's not allowed to be, a lot of times you put those moon suits on, you think it's just a Superman suit, but you still have to make sure that you take all metal objects off your body when you get into that suit and you dress.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Back when James was about 10 years old, we was at church. We walk up to the preacher, shaking hands, telling him, a good sermon. We enjoyed it. And old James, he had his sport coat on, and he just opened up the sport coat and had a big old belt there that said Coors Beer. He said, a preacher said, how do you like my belt? And the preacher looked at it and he said, James, that's a mighty pretty belt. I told him, man, you don't have how you embarrassed me. I didn't know you had it on. But that's good. And once you set that barricade, you don't cross it with any metal under any condition. If the folks out there wanted a good workshop on here on 7D, James and I can put a good one on, but you'd have to donate about 30 minutes to us and give us about 6 different nights to do it, to put on a real good one and go through the most dangerous aspects of working in and around equipment, what the rules were and everything. But with that thought in mind, a first-degree burn, it affects only the outer layer of the skin, but it does cause pain, a lot of redness and swelling, but it usually heals in about 3 to 6 days. But now,
welcome in, Steve. Sorry to interrupt. Welcome in, Steve. Great to have you in the house. He says a great reminder to remember taking off that big old Texas belt buckle.
Yeah. Well, he's changed a little bit now with his buckle. And then, of course, a second-degree burn, partial thickness, it affects both the outer but the underlayer of the skin and causes pain, redness, swelling, but about as bad, it blisters. And it takes about 7 to 21 days to heal. It's almost like a real bad suntan where, it starts blistering on you. I got one of those one time when I was working for Aramco in Saudi. And, man, I suffered with that thing for a while. But third-degree burn, look at that. Full thickness, burns extend into deeper tissues, causes white or blackening, charred skin. Your skin may be a feeling of being numb. And notice that it can take 3 to 8 weeks and even months to heal at third degree. And when you get beyond that, you're really in trouble. But my boy, Mike Barr, get into more of that with you. He's very knowledgeable on that. Let's go to the next.
Yeah, one. I had a second degree. My house caught on fire. we were out barbecuing and some wind picked up some coals and like blew it onto my porch, and my porch went up, and the neighbors yelling, "Your house is on fire!" And I went running out the back door and jumped my porch and grabbed the hose and put it out, and didn't realize that I had a nice second-degree burn on my leg because I was wearing shorts. But I went and jumped right through that fire and went and got the hose and put it out. Didn't even feel it. I didn't even feel it at all. I thought I was fine.
And then all of a sudden,
yeah, my wife was like, "There's a huge blister on your leg," and my whole entire leg, halfway down my calf, was just a massive blister from the heat of me jumping off that porch and jumping over there. And we got it all fixed and everything, but it was a scary moment.
I had a third degree with a 277 480. It's a long story, so I won't bore the group with going into it. But they had to peel the skin off, and they sprayed my, with this real cold stuff that's supposed to deaden it. And this big nurse, boy, I mean, she just scraped it off, and I mean, she was rough. And then afterwards, she told me, she said, "Well, I think I'm done now." I said, "You want your sucker?"
That's funny.
I come almost damn near hitting her because it hurt me, but it took a while for it to heal. But I still got the scar. I still got scars from it. But now,
well, and that's the thing that we're trying to do this for senior, which is really awesome. Is we want to work in an electrically safe work condition and avoid.
Most all companies do. I mean, they really do. You've got some that take a management risk that if anything happens, they can pay it off and come out. But in the long run, many times they find that doesn't happen. Now, this Annex L you see there, PPE, comes from our 70 ebook that we have. But notice this is a Category 1 4-cal, and this is what most people will wear that you see there. Safety glasses, FR denim, or type suit. But to get the right, you move that when I tell you, okay?
Okay. I thought you were going to go right into it.
No, but this is recommended, and a lot of your companies will wear that type of suit for 4-cal, but not anymore. Usually they're all 8-cal uniforms. Now you can go, James. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to mention, and you can stay on this slide, is that I really like that how Mike Barr was saying that some companies just implement where all employees wear 4-cal. I thought that was interesting, where whether you're out in the field, you'd be in the office wearing 4-cal.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting.
He deals with some stuff at voltage is unforgiving. You get in that, you're going to be in trouble. But now, if you go to our table, 130.7C, 15C, for this Category 1, this is the equipment that you see there that you have to wear. Now, the ARC-rated clothing you see at the top there is fire resistant also. And then you drop down to the protective equipment that you'd have. So, again, the two tables in 70E, one table is for equipment you wear, and one table is for equipment that you do not wear, like you may be climbing a ladder, you may be laying down an insulating mat, using covering up material, that kind of thing. And if we ever do that course, we can go through all that. Now let's go to the next one.
Awesome.
Now here's Category 2. And this is what most guys I find in the field that are our customers, they wear. They wear a Category 2, but this is what is suggested to work. But now this is a company policy. You with me?
Hmm?
What you see there, exposed worker suggested PPE, those are usually the company policies that they let their people wear, a lot of them, where they can't afford to have an engineering staff and people that know how to perform these calculations and are qualified to do that. And the tables, they don't use the tables that we'll look at.
So are you saying that's an 8-cal, what we're seeing in there?
Yeah, that's an 8-cal. And you find that in your table 130.7C, 15C.
Which is right.
And this is what you would wear. Now, see, there's the ARC-rated clothing that you see for 8-cal. And then that's the protective equipment below that that you would need to wear. And I'm not going to bore you guys out there and gals by going over this, because you can download this and look at it yourself when you at your leisure, if you care to even do that. So the next
Well,
one.
we could do a special thing where we just do like a special show just on like using the table, stuff like that. So this is really good, Senior. I'm learning a lot tonight. Oh, look who popped in. Mr. Mike Barr's in the house.
Oh, good.
Hey, Mike.
We've been talking about you, boy.
Welcome, Mike.
Now, again, this is a category 3. In other words, you're over 8 cal up to 25 cal. And if you can wear your sock hood that the individual has on, and you can dress like that up to 12 cal. Once you're above 12 cal, then you'd have to go into the moon suit. And of course, the head in the limited approach boundary, then 130.5G, the note B below that table, would give you those instructions, okay? As well as 130.7C10 will give you the same instructions in 70E. And then, of course, this is the equipment that you would wear below. And then there's the clothing that you would need to wear. See, and they're saying, now, wait a minute, you're over 8 up to 25, so you're going to dress a little bit more, have more protection due to the calories that might be present there.
Gotcha. Hey,
And
one
then,
thing
of
I'm
course-
going to say about Mike Barr, he must have been wearing his hearing protection because he heard you.
We are too. We've known each other for many, many years. Now, picking up in this category 4, then you're 40 cal. Then we suggest in 70E, you don't wear any equipment if you're above 40 cal. Now, people say, well, hey, Stallcup, we can buy 150 calorie per centimeter squared. We call that a coffin. If you dress up in that and try to work on equipment, then you're not working with a full deck of cards. There's something wrong with you.
I agree with that.
But so that's what we would use. And of course, you got your table. Now, looking at 130.7C10B2, then it says if you exceed 12 calories per centimeter squared, you have to go to a moon suit, and you can't use the face shield, the balaclava, and dress as that individual is dressing if you're past 12 calories per centimeter squared. And then, of course, the suggested PPE is below to working around equipment. And one other thing that I would point out, on most construction sites, the guys that really work in panel boards and get into where there's energized components, maybe at 240, 120, they're trained to do that, but the other guys are only trained, to do the wiring, run the conduit, the cable, set the boxes and stuff like that. And they're not allowed to go in to the room where the panel board is that contains a circuitry that gives them the temporary power that they need in accordance with Article 590 of the NEC. So kind of keep that in mind.
All right.
Now, here's the equipment that you need, minimum. And then you might have to go to the moon suit when you're above 12 calories per centimeter squared. All right. Now, here's the beekeeper suit, the moon suit, the monkey suit, what people call it and everything. But is this the best one to wear? Which they, in 2018, they updated and said, yeah, that was the best to wear right there, like Mike Barr was telling you. But now let's go to the next one.
Yeah, and he also is wearing safety glasses too in that one too. So
yeah,
that's an interesting point you brought up. So
yeah, you got to have that, and you can't let the shield or the hood represent eliminating the safety glasses. Now, notice this moon suit there during a electrical arc condition. You see what happened? Now, up to 12 cal, I can wear the face shield and the balaclava that you see there. But above 12 cal, I've got to go to the moon suit. That's mandatory, and we can find that in 130.7C10. And you'll see that when you get download this and go through it if you want to. Go to the next one. Now, if you want to use the tables, we have 3 methods. If you look at the very top, we can go to our table 130.5G. And if you're 12 calories or less in centimeters squared, the equipment's listed and the equipment that you have to wear, clothing and all. If you're above 12 cal, then table 130.5G will list all the equipment that you have to use and all the clothing that you have to wear. But the main thing that the table's telling you, what is the appropriate safety-related practices you need to use to perform the task? What is the arc flash boundary that you cross into the limited and restricted, and then work on the component? A lot of people want to know, well, what is working on? Where you go to page 14 in 70E, page 14, and on the right-hand side of the page, you'll have working on, and that's either diagnostic testing or replacing, repairing in some manner you're working on. But that also tells you that if you're just passing through and the covers are all on, the equipment's been maintained, then you don't have to have any kind of PPE on at all.
Hey, so question for you, Senior.
Yeah.
Why does it list hard hat in there as like a required ARC rated protective equipment? Is that really real? Is that part of the ARC rated?
You're talking about hard hat?
Yeah.
Oh, the hard hat, that's from everything. That can be from electrical arc protection. It can be from falling stuff. So they always require you to wear a hard hat, excuse me.
Okay. Temporary. That one's always weird. Did you know that OSHA's doing away with the typical hard hat?
No, I didn't know that. They never would let you wear those bumper hard hats.
So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to make you wear the climbing hard hats with the chin strap and stuff. That's what they're moving to. So I guess they said that when you fall off the ladder, your hard hat falls off and you still hit your head. So now they're trying to go with those climbing helmets. It's the new rave. All the union guys are wearing it.
Well, it's it's accidents occur. That's when they start requiring you to wear certain types of PPE equipment. But
that was interesting to me that it would be part of ARC requirement versus like
that's for falling. If you're up on a ladder. Because I'm working on a case now where a guy fell and his hard hat come off and he's hit his head.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
should have the climbing helmet on.
And but I think that mainly is just for falling purposes.
Temporary, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, I like it.
And Mike can probably expand on that too next week. I assume you guys, Bill, going to have him on next week.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good enough. Now we went over the boxed in information. Now that we can use the table. That's one way, our table 130.5G, and just use that table under those conditions. Or we can drop down and use, as you see in the illustration, we have our table 130.5C. That's the first table. And that you go through that, look at your job tasks, fall into the parameters there of that they have there. And then you can determine if you need equipment or not. You'd say, yeah, I need it. Then you would go to the next table, which is table 2, and that'd be 130.7C15A for AC, and it would be B for DC. And then you would get your category based upon the task that you selected from your first table, 130.5C. After you selected your category from the second table, you go to the third table, 130.7C15C, which we've already looked at that. Category 1 is 4 cal. Category 2 is 8 cal. Category 3 is 25 cal. Category 4 is 40 cal. Nice. Now, that's the second method from the table 130.5G that you could use. Now, you may say, well, we're a little bicycle shop. We don't have really engineering, qualified electricians to actually do this in that manner. Then you could go over to the Annex H. look at your table H2, and you could select category 1 and 2 for everyday work. And then when you get into the heavier type work, you would use category 3 and a moon suit. And you don't,
Right.
and you could just go by that table. So that is 3 methods, right?
Yeah.
You have the table 130.5G. Then you come down to the 3 tables that we went over, table 1, 2, and 3. And then you have the table H2, that's 3. Now, notice that's what took place here. This guy here, he's working on energized conductors and circuit parts, performing testing on 240 volt up to 600 volt. So I go to my table 430.5C, and it says for that task, I need equipment. So I go to table 2, I look at 130.7C 15A, and for that task, I need a category 2.
Okay, gotcha. So that makes sense.
And now I go over and I look at the one thing I'll point out, 110.1H is now 110.5G, and that's labeling. We'll look at that.
Yeah, I'm sure James did that part. He probably messed up that.
Well, it's easy to goof up. I mean, when you list all these sections, it's easy to goof up. But yeah,
I just gave him a hard time. James does a great job. It's awesome.
I agree with you. He did it. Now, 3, our available short circuit current is less than 25 kA, and our circuit breaker will open up in a half cycle. Now, if you take a cycle, and if you take the cycles and multiply by 0.0167, that gives you your seconds. Take the seconds and divide by 0.0167, and that'll give you your cycles. Nice. So if we fall within note 3, and then we go down to and select our equipment that we're going to wear for this task, and there it's listed, and that would be a category 8. Excuse me, it would be a minimum arc rating of 8 centimeters squared, and then that's equipment you need for a category 2, and then the clothing, and then the hard hat and the equipment that you wear then would be listed below that. So you need safety glasses or safety goggles. And by the way, what would make you use safety glasses or safety goggles?
I'll tell you what happens when we're at the plant is when we get wind speeds over a certain wind speed, then we have to have safety glasses and safety goggles. They call them spoggles, but it's when you get a certain wind speed, then you have to change.
That's right.
You change from safety glasses to spoggles. But
yeah, anything you could think could come in your side. You're right. That's exactly right. And then you're hearing.
One thing I want to do a little saying for Junior. I think he'll like this one. All voltages are high voltages when things go wrong.
Okay.
Well, fellas, that's it. You'd have a hard hat, safety glasses, or safety goggles, and we just talked about that. Then your hearing protection, they say in Colorado is 85, in Texas it's 85 dB, but by 1910.95 it's 140. But you're choosing your method. Then heavy duty leather gloves that you could use, and that's 130.
Welcome in the house, Captain Danny. Captain Danny showed up. He's my Maple Leafs. He's a hockey guy. So welcome in the house, Captain Danny. Awesome to have you, sir.
Okay, and so the heavy duty gloves there, as we said, 130.7C10, and those heavy duty gloves are up to about 10 cal, real easy, and really about up to 12, some of them, and you'll find that in that section. And then your leather footwear, if you exceed 4 cals per centimeter squared, you need to wear leather footwear or something that would be equivalent in accordance with the informational note that they have listed there. And basically, those are the methods that you could use tables. Okay?
Nice. Dude, that's awesome. So Danny's giving me a little hard time because Actually, the Leafs beat the Avalanche on New Year's Eve. I was at the game and they beat us like 6-2. So he's giving me a little hard time, but it's all good, Daddy. Love you, brother.
And then, of course, this is the calculation. And we go over to the Annex D and look at D.3.3b. And then you'd run your calculation with the information that you're given there. And for this particular one, we come up with 8.1 cal. And, we said, yeah, we could use that 8.2 cal suit for that calculation. Remember looking at that?
Yep.
Earlier. And so that's running the calculation. But you got to get, I have found in doing this, James and I have done this, and it was harder to collect the data to run these calculations. Much
hey,
harder.
So
Once
Danny
we had
has
the calculation was easy.
Danny has an important message for us. Everyone, hit those thumbs up, hit those likes. Appreciate you, Danny. Thanks so much, sir. Thanks for showing up. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Hit that like button. Yep, go for it.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
Next one.
Yeah. All right. Now, we should always look at our warning labels. Now, we know that 110.16 of the NEC warns about the arc flash. 110.21, 110.25, all those go together for the NEC. But we go to 130.5H and 70E, and that is a label that has to be put on by the owner. Those labels in the NEC in 110.16, 110.21, 110.24, and 110.25, those are labels the electrician has to put on that's doing the work. But you read these labels, and you can see for certain levels and certain tasks, we have the numbers listed there. And the reason I listed those there, because those are tasks that we usually do as electricians. And then we have all the fill-in information there that you would need to have. And I won't bore you with all that, but when you cross that arc flash boundary, you need your equipment. And that's 6.1 foot there. So, and that's where you'd have your barricade.
Yeah, you got to understand that.
You got to have that. And then, of course, this one here is another one with less stuff, but you can see that we would have only category 1 is all we would need there. So category 2 uniform is fine. And then I want to point out to you that some of the people still use it, but the category 0 has been deleted in 70.
Yeah.
You're dealing with less than 50 volts now.
Yep.
And now we require you, and it's in, I believe, 110.2C, I believe it is. We require you to run a evaluation on a class 1 and class 3 circuit.
Nice.
And see if it's a shock hazard or if it's an arc hazard. And I'd recommend to you, if you have a copy of the 2015 edition of the NEC, 70E, go to Article 340, and you have all the dangerous energy levels in Article 340 that you should watch out for. They took it out of the 2018 and the 2021 because of all the other items they put in,
Nice. All right. Yeah, I've asked that a few times. I've asked that to Junior a few times.
So that's one thing that you would need to review there on that. And then the class 2 circuit is a gimme circuit. And if you look at Article 100 of 70E, look at electrical hazard, it says that a class 2 is no threat to you. But a class 1 can be, and a class 3 can be. And that's why the NEC, has split up class 1, 2, 3 circuits and added a class 4 circuit. It's to try to let, electricians know at the installation stage that they make the installation so 70B and 70E can be applied.
All right. Wow. Okay.
So
cool, man. That probably brought it pretty much full circle, sir. I really like it, man. I mean,
Well, I thank
that was a
everybody
great-
for participating, and
yeah.
and again, you can download this stuff. You can talk Bill into putting it on for you, so you can.
Oh
Thanks a
yeah,
lot. I
dude.
appreciate it.
Anybody, dude, hit me up. I will post it wherever you want. Like I'll post it on any group. Like if somebody wants to see something,
It's up to you, however you want to do it.
I have it.
yeah,
However you guys want to
I
do
put
it.
it together, so I got it.
Don't let him
Yeah.
kid you. He put together what I put together.
Well, yeah, I fixed it.
Let's
made
tell
look
it like
better.
it is now. You see
So-
him trying to take all the credit?
Hell yeah.
yeah. See, like
That's
he's
my
been
boy.
doing that. He's been
Learn
doing
from
that
the
quite a
best.
bit. I've been taking the credit for the metal, like all the metal. It's my idea, you know. But I mean, everything out that is I can split. I can let you guys have the rest of the credit on the knowledge and all the information. It's really awesome having you on, sir. Really great job. You always bring a really quality presentation every time, sir. It's really an honor to have you on.
I appreciate you guys asking me. And like I said, if the folks out there want it, James and I can put you on a 70, but class, but we would need about 6 or 7 30-minute segments to do it.
Yeah.
And if,
Oh yeah, we got
to donate
we
that
got
much
an-
time to us.
We got another comment that just came in from one of our listeners that said it's honor. I'm gonna actually feature that comment. It is a truly honor to have you on, sir.
Well, go take a rest, and we'll go eat in a little bit after I finish this up, old man.
Hey.
And then we'll have Mike next week, huh?
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll be here to hear my old buddy.
Yep.
All right.
There you go. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Standing ovation. Standing
See you
ovation.
in a minute.
All right. So my buddy Danny Tamernack, he wants to fire this up. He wants to get this party started. And he says, hit the likes, people. So we got to hit the likes and get the metal fired up. We're getting ready to go. Danny, thank you for that comment. We're getting ready to fire up. Let's go. Meme of the week.
Do what? No shit. Oh, wow. He just told me Lisa Marie Presley just died at 54 from an overdose.
Oh, wow.
I know that upsets him because he loves Elvis Presley. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Okay. Well, all right. Let's do the meme of the week, brother.
Mike.
All right, so we have a lot of backstory with that meme. That was actually my birthday present for William Kurz. We call him Mr. 33 in a bunch of the groups because he electrical taped up some wires and put them in the wall. And so we always give him crap and say that he always electrical tapes everything. But that actually led into our myth of the week, which I thought was really fun. I learned a lot on this myth of the week. Like, this was awesome. Like, in the theory of it, I would say that this myth could be true, that Super 33 does prevent against electrical shock. But I just, in the infant, like just going through it, I don't think it could ever be true. I mean, we have to be working in electrically safe work condition. We have to make sure that all our equipment's de-energized, and we have to make sure. Oh, look, we got a Facebook user doing the old hook 'em horns there for you there, James. So
I got a question, though. I want
What's
to
that?
know how y'all got one of the girls I dated to pose and let y'all put all that tape on her.
well, she did it herself because it was she stole it off my tool bags.
Okay.
So so that's how I know it was. That's how I know it's Super 33.
That's awesome. Okay, let's fire it up. You ready?
Hey, wait.
What?
We got to do a moment of silence for the TCU Horned Frogs. Okay, that's enough.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's good. We're good.
A moment of silence ain't even good enough for that. That was bad. I was watching it. I just halftime. I said, "Hell, I ain't watching any more of this." I was watching it with Dad. I just took off when it got something to drink.
What was it, like 59-0 after halftime or something like that?
Oh no, they scored the first
quarter, I think, and that was it from what I remember. But anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. All right, let's roll myth of the week.
It's time for Myth of the Week.
All right, I want to thank first off all the NEC for Dummies. It was a great Myth of the Week this week, and then I want to thank all the participants from the Nat King Code. We hit 100,000 in 2022, and I was so stoked. It went slightly lower. We're at like 85,000 now. But at the same time, I had a lot of participation, a lot of fun with it. And I think a lot of people laughed at this because it was kind of laughable that you're going to tape the handles of your tools and you're going to tape the uninsulated terminals of devices to prevent against electric shock. That is 100% false. There's no way that electrical tape around that device is going to protect you from electrical shock. I would not pull that device out energized. That right there is actually a job we did a while back. And it's funny because people call me out and they're asking me if it's a three-way switch. I'm not sure. I couldn't see the off-on the switch, so I'm not sure. I might have used the three-way switch and just used it as a single pole, which actually could be looked at as a code violation. But, like I say, I don't remember exactly. It passed inspection. But at the same time, I put that electrical tape around there because my company said it was their policy to run electrical tape around each device before you install it. And that's fine. That's my company's policy. That's what I'm going to do. Is it going to prevent electrical shock? No, not in any single way. I mean, there's so many things that could happen. That electrical tape, you could say, you know what, that's listed to, one wrap. I heard so many things in the comments, and I really give a shout out to all the people that commented. It was a lot of fun. They said like one wrap equal to 300 volts, one wrap equal to 1,000 volts, two wraps equal 1,000 volts, three wraps equal 1,000 volts, Mm-hmm. And that could be the listing of that tape, but you just can't figure out what's going to happen in like a situation. If you're pulling that switch out, one of those terminals come back. It happened to me. I was pulling a insulated wire nut out of a J-box, and they stripped the copper out a little too long. And so my finger slipped back, and that was 277 right to my finger. Yep. And so it was my fault. I should have had gloves on when I was taking that conductor out. I should have been more careful. But at the same time, that wire nut is technically supposed to prevent against electrical shock. It did not prevent electrical shock for misused. It was not installed correctly per manufacturer instructions. So there's really no manufacturer instructions on electrical tape. A lot of people talk crap about this, say that you're just going to get a whole sticky mess when you pull the tape off. But it's kind of funny because like I've had guys go, oh, I'm going to go in there in this live gear. All I have to do is just tape up my lineman pliers, and I just tape up all my tools and tape up my screwdriver, and it's good for 1,000 volts. Well, that's not true. Nope. And so this myth is 100% false. No amount of electrical tape will prevent electrical shock. I did it as a fun time to kind of get something out there. A lot of people said true, which in theory, they're technically correct. Because if you take a piece of electrical tape and you wrap those insulated terminals and you touch it, you're not going to get shocked. But you can't say that prevents electrical shock. So there was a lot of correct answers, a lot of correct responses on it. And I was really honored to go in there and put up a myth that everyone kind of wanted in the electrical industry. Kind of bust that whole thing up and just say, is this okay to take it out because the last guy taped it? Nope. It's got to be an established electrically safe work condition. It's got to be de-energized. That's the only safe way to work on anything is de-energized.
Right.
So,
well, what I did is when you brought it up, I went over and I pulled from the 2021 NFPA 70E. And if you go over and look at 130.7D1, that's where you pick up your insulated tools and equipment. And they tell you they have to be insulated once you're within the restricted approach boundary. And it says that that the insulated tools also have to be protected from damage to the insulating material. And then you get your requirements for the insulated tools in A. And of course, it has to be rated for the voltage which you're going to use it on. And the insulated tool has to be designed and constructed for the environment which is going to be exposed. And then, of course, you have to inspect it before you ever use it prior to using it. And then you'll look for damage and to the insulation or any type of damage that can limit the tool from performing whatever its intended function. Then what I did is after I looked at that, you go over to 250.2, and that's where you're going to pick up your inspection and testing of your protective equipment and protective tools. And once again, they reemphasize one more time that you need to visually inspect it for any damage or defects before you use it. But it also tells you in no case shall that interval exceed 1 year. Okay.
Yeah, and this is a good point because this should be on your paperwork every day at work. You should be visually inspecting your hard hat. You should be visually inspecting your clothing. You should be visually inspecting your gloves, visually inspecting all your tools. If there's damage to your tools, you need to replace it. And cords. Cords is a good one. Robert makes a good point. What about, back when we soldered in tape connection, that's kind of one of those things, Robert, that you're still going to establish an electrically safe work condition when you're not going to work on that energized. That's kind of one of those things that we run into with safety. This is basically safety related. A lot of people say, no, we're electricians. We work on an energized. Cool. Go for it. I'm not going to tell you not to.
Yeah,
your company might not want you to.
Sure. And it might be a good idea that maybe I do something and go through and tie in normal and abnormal operations a little bit deeper than what Dad did, and actually go through in depth with some of the tables and explain the procedures and process of how you make those determinations, and tied in also with OSHA. And
yeah. Dude, that was really good, man. There was a bunch of myths busted with that one right there, just alone. Because I've heard a lot of times people say the wrong thing on that.
Sure. And then another thing that you get into is these are some of your standards of interest that you would want to look at. And when you're looking at your insulated tools, there's very strict safety standards that are put in place. And when you're talking about these, the three applicable standards you'd want to look at is your IEC 60900, that's 2012. Then you got your ASTM F1505. And Dad was giving reference to some of that earlier when he was talking about the different tables and stuff that they go in and reference these standards. And of course, you're going to look at NFPA 70E. Now, when you go in and you look at this, and you look, I'm going to actually go through and explain how they did all this. So if you look at the IEC, which is the International Electrotechnical Commission, they are actually based in Geneva, Switzerland. And that standard covers the dimensions, the guards, and more. It also covers the test procedures to ensure that tools will actually protect users from incidental contact with voltages up to 1,000 volts. Now, when they first did this, they originally wrote this standard, and it was written up until the mid 1980s and was most recently updated in 2012. And if you look at the ASTM standard, which is American Society for Testing Materials, they issued their own standard in 1994. And what they did, they pulled a lot of the information and elements from the IEC standard, and then they made some minor changes to allow for the cultural language interpretation and translation. And those current standards were issued in 2010. Okay.
Okay.
So that gives you a little bit there what you're looking at as far as it's relating to these standards. Now I want to show you something else. A lot of people don't get this information. You'd have to have somebody actually knew where they were looking for all of this. But when you look at manufacturing insulating tools, there's two types of certification standards you're going to look at. You have the ASTM F1505, and then you have what they call the VDE. Now, here in North America, we use the ASTM 1505, and that 1505, when they do that testing, that testing, once it's performed to verify that it is an insulated tool, you're going to see a double triangle symbol engraved on that tool. Okay.
Okay. That's what that is. All right.
Yeah. And it'll also be as well as the year that the tool was insulated. Okay. So they're going to go through this and they're going to do the ASTM F1505 to certify each one of these tools that goes through this insulation process. Now, the other one that you're going to be looking at is what you're going to see overseas. This is VDE. This is the Vanderban der Elektrotechnik Association for Electrical and Electronic Information Technologies. It's a private compliance organization. Okay. And this company is based in Frankfurt, Germany, and the VDE certification is mainly used in the European and Asian manufacturers. And once that insulation process is done, it'll have on there on each tool that it is VDE certified, which is engraved on the tool. Now, similar, what this is one is a dip process and the other is an injection molding to the tool. And that is where you get these different variances here between the two different types of insulated tools. And based on all the testing and comparisons and everything, there's no clear winner here. Okay.
Right.
But basically it depends on where you're working, what you're doing. If you're in North America, you're going to have the double triangle. If you're European or Asian, you're going to have a VDE certification. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
So those are some information that sort of talks about that. And then this just tells, and I wanted to point this out, is this double triangle marking, when they perform this testing and they place this double triangle marking on or engrave them on these tools, this is set up to clarify here that they've done the testing, that the insulated hand tools have a maximum use rating up to 1,000 volts. Okay. But they're dielectrically tested at 10,000 volts. So basically what that means, this is going to equate to a safety margin factor of 10. Okay.
Okay.
And a lot of people think it's just tested at 1,000. Actually, it's dielectrically tested at 10,000. Okay.
Okay. Nice.
So that gives you a little bit of full detail of just exactly how they do that stuff.
So I have a really good story about that.
Mm-hmm.
So the utility was like, hey, you want to take a medium voltage class? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, all right, well, you got to come watch this PowerPoint. And I was like, all right. So it was PowerPoint of a guy trying to steel wire out of a live 13-8 transformer. He had 10K insulated tools. His freaking arm was about 3 foot over there.
Mm-hmm.
His body was still in the transformer, and his leg was about 3 foot over there. And they showed me the freaking point of entry, point of exit, and basically blew him in half. You know,
did.
And he's like, "You want to do medium voltage?" And I was like, "Hell yeah! I ain't gonna do that. That's pretty stupid. Just because you have a 10,000 volt rated piece of tool, you still have to work in electrically safe work condition."
Yeah, you do.
So I worked on medium voltage many times, many years, and I've never worked on it energized. It's always been an electrically safe work condition.
Sure.
So that's the biggest thing that I say that comes out about this. Myth, busted.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter how many
that we showed it specifically states by the 70E standard, don't do that.
It doesn't matter how many wraps of tape you got on it. It's not going to prevent electric shock.
That's right.
So awesome. Right. Thanks for everyone participating. I had a good time. It was a great time.
You ready for the 5 new changes this week?
5 changes.
It won't be long. We'll be in chapter 6.
Still jamming to that song. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I want to point one thing out also. I talked to you about this yesterday about the learning management systems now. Well, anyway, we think we figured out what it was. When I took and I switched my website and I went to this other, I had linked in to that website through a DNS, and we're trying to fix all that right now. So hopefully next week it'll all be up, but that's why it's not showing anything, and it kicked everything out because it linked through there. But apparently everything's there. I just got to figure out how to fix everything this week and then bring it back up. So it was, you remember how I was upset yesterday because I couldn't understand how something like that could happen, but apparently it's through Google and the provider I was using through a DNS through that website that connected over, and that's where everything was coming through, and it kicked it out. But yet
did we get any extension on the deathmatch? Because I already took mine. I got a 79%. Honestly, I got a 79% with all the questions and everything. So
yeah, I'll probably go ahead and start the February one, but extend the other one a week. Since it will be down close to a week. So it was nothing that it was my fault, apparently, because I switched websites and I didn't realize the DNS was connected through that. It's really weird. They had to really explain it to me, but I'm about to get that kicked up and fixed. So thank God I don't have to redo all that.
All right. So anybody that gets higher than a 79%, you beat me. I got a 79%. There was a couple I probably should have got right. I should have been about probably like 90%, 95, somewhere in there. But I got a couple wrong, and I even got a calculation wrong that I shouldn't have got wrong. I calculated the box wrong. I was just in a hurry, and I just put it in. I said 4 times 4 plus blah, blah, and I was like, okay, 24 by 24, and then I was like, I should have did 4 times 6, but it was one of those things. It was just I was in a hurry. So really appreciate everyone joining in the deathmatch. It's going to be a lot of fun, and might as well write me that check now. Looks like everyone's just bowing out.
Okay. All right. Well, now the 5 changes this week. The first one, which will be dear to the heart of everybody that's in Denver, Colorado, is we now have an Article 512 that deals with cannabis oil equipment and cannabis oil systems using flammable materials. And basically all they did is write a new article to cover this, and the requirements. You got 3 parts. You got the general, and then you've got the wiring, where you have wiring installation and operation, and plus wiring installed above the hazardous classified locations. Then it gets into equipment, but basically it's treated as a special occupancy due to the hazardous classified location areas that are involved with this cannabis. Okay.
Yeah, and just to let you know, James, there is actually NFPA 420 coming out I don't think it's out yet, but they are making NFPA 420, and it's going to address stuff like this. This is what we call in Colorado, we call it a butane hash oil. So there's a way that you can extract the oil out of the cannabis with using butane, and it's highly flammable. So it's blown up a few houses here in Colorado. So it's pretty good, I guess, that we're addressing this, but I think it would be better in just an overall standard because there's ways we could do the same exact thing with compressed CO2.
Okay. Yeah, no problems there.
Yep.
All right. Now they added a new section here, 517.6, and this has been added to clarify for the patient care related electrical equipment that it is different than electrical equipment in 110.21A. And it's expected here that this will be recommissioned or recertified when it is relocated. Okay. So what they did, they added the informational notes here in hopes that it provides clarity that this type of equipment is highly specialized and it's not actually covered in the code. Okay. So this
just basically
go ahead.
Just basically keep it away 10 foot away from the pool and you're good.
Yeah. But this is basically when you get into healthcare and you start looking at recondition requirements and stuff, this was important to have there to differentiate it from electrical equipment that's described over in 110.21A2. Okay.
Right.
Because, and if you look at it, it's in chapter 5, of course, which deals with what? Special occupancies. There's a reason it's a special occupancy. All right.
Right.
And then they added an exception here in 517.14. This is where you're dealing with panel board bonding. And basically this was added to address this exception. This is something that's a common practice of where they'll take and use bus bars as a means for terminating the grounding and bonding conductors. And if you actually go over and look at 250.30A6C for your grounding electrode tap conductors where you're dealing with separately derived circuits, this is a type of practice that's permitted there. And then if you look at 250.64D13 for terminating of grounding electrode taps and 250.94B for bonding of systems, you'll see that they're already doing this type, and now they're just allowing you to do what we're already doing in other articles, or in Article 250. Now they're allowing you to do it over here where you're in a healthcare facility.
Gotcha. Which is pretty good. It's the same thing.
Yeah, that same thing. It
complies
just
with Part A, just don't comply with Part B.
Sure. Then what they did, this is where you have two independent power sources. Basically, you're dealing with your essential electrical system, and they made a revision here to clarify, and hopefully doing this, it'll distinguish between what is considered a normal source and an essential system source. So what they're doing, they're pointing out here that some of the loads are for the essential system, and they'll have multiple sources and multiple feeders. And the reason they have those is to ensure reliability of the service and the loss of any one source or any feeder. And then the other loads, which are a normal system, what's the difference between them? Well, a normal system doesn't have what? Redundancy. Okay. So if you go over and look at NFPA 99, they made a number of important revisions over there that were needed to help clarify that the needed performance of these various sources. And the reason they did that was to help ensure reliable power to the essential system itself.
Do you know what other standard covers that?
For the essential electrical system?
All that. International Building Code.
Oh, I don't deal with that. So
yeah, but it was funny because so I want to just give a shout out to everyone. Thanks a lot. I passed my NISAT 2. So NISAT 2 fire alarm tech. And the number one thing I loved about NFPA 72 was you can go to chapter 2 and you can reference any publication that deals with anything.
Oh yeah.
So like if you look it up and you're like, I don't know where that is, you go to chapter 2, look it up, it'll tell you right there. NFPA 99. So no, that's good. It's just always a way to tie it in. I
Okay.
like doing code.
I was wondering where you're going with that.
Yeah.
All right.
You can look it up. It'll say NFPA 99 right there. You're like, okay, that's weird.
Now, what they did here, this is 547.26, and this is going to deal for physical protection, where we're talking about the electrical wiring equipment that can be subject to physical damage. And what they did, they added a new sentence and informational note. And this is to address where you'd have like rodents and pests eating non-metallic cables that could be concealed in the walls or ceilings, or even areas adjoining livestock containment areas, as this is a potential hazard and this shall not be permitted. Okay, so they just added something in here to deal with this. And when you look at Article 547, what does that deal with?
Agricultural buildings.
That's right. So they just did a little change here to realize that this can happen, and you need to look at this and realize what type of wiring methods you're installing in certain places due to being in an agricultural area.
Right.
Okay. So those are my changes.
So that was really awesome. So I was going to take my journeyman's test. This was the first time I took my journeyman's test. And I don't know how I passed. But anyway, I get to the first question and they say, don't be rattled. When you get to that first question, don't get yourself rattled. Just be confident and just skip it. Don't even answer it. Just skip it.
You don't know it. Go move on.
Well, now they make you answer it. So that you have to answer it, then skip it, and then flag it for review. But my first question, when I went to take Journeyman's test, this is in 2001, they said, what type of cable is not permitted for use in a poultry plant? And I remember reading the question. I remember thinking, okay, so you dissect the question and you think, okay, what type of cable is not permitted for use in a poultry plant? So poultry plant would be that driving term that you have to find. You have to find, what is a poultry plant? Where is that at? What is it? And I just remember it rattled me really bad. I was like, oh man, I'm never going to find that, So I just said, you know what, skip it, flag, mark it for review, skip it, just go on to the next one. Next one was like, what's a minimum spacing on devices in, residential dwelling? I'm like 12 foot, you know what I mean? So then I started getting on that roll. And you start going these ones that and you're like, oh yeah, that's 12 foot, that's 6 foot, that's 3 foot, that's, and you start getting all these right. Well, then I come across one where it asked something about an agricultural building. And it says agricultural buildings will be such buildings as poultry plants. So I'm like, oh wow, that reminds me of that first question. So I was like, let me go look at that. And so I started looking at it, and it says type NM cable shall not be used in poultry plants. So there must have been a time back in the day where they just had this common practice where you just string Romex across there, and all the free chickens just perch on the Romex, and then they all get cooked at a certain point. Because you're going to cook them anyway, whatever. But you know what I mean? Like they got to the point where they said, you know what? We're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to just kill chickens because you don't want to follow the electric code.
Right.
And so I thought that was kind of a cool, interesting thing to realize. But when I went to take my test, that first question was not good.
But you ended up getting it.
Yeah, I got it right.
All right.
But awesome. We had Andrew just pop in. So yeah, and that's awesome, Andrew. Yeah. You have to know them word for word, and that's a really good comment, because you do have to know them word for word. You have to look, if you don't find it word for word in the code book, then you got the wrong answer.
That's interesting, because I've done that with the NEC death match this time. I'm going word for word. And I still had somebody complain about one of the questions. I was like, how can you complain? It's word for word. I didn't even answer with him. I was like, I'm not even going to argue with it. It's one of the boys at ECD. They're just trying to start some crap like always.
Oh, yeah.
So,
we love you guys over at ECD. Thanks for keeping us on our toes, man. Appreciate you.
all right, you ready for tool of the week?
Let's do it.
Boom.
It's time for Tool Review of the Week. Sponsored by Electricians Only Tool Review and Nipex Tradesman.
All right. So everyone knows that every week I switch off between Milwaukee and DeWalt. And, to Andrew, I'm not really a Milwaukee fan. I don't really care which brand everyone likes. This one is actually a pretty good product. It's got the deep cut. I think it could cut 4-inch. I'm not sure on that exact fact. I know for sure it could cut 3-inch. But this is like their latest cordless technology. And I don't think there's a freaking DeWalt product out there that can cut as good as like a Milwaukee. Like the Milwaukees are kind of almost made more for the industrial site. So that's why I like to feature Milwaukee and DeWalt both at the same time. I'd probably feature bandsaws at least probably 4 of my tool reviews of the week. Everyone that I work with has a different bandsaw. We're all like bandsaw people. I have the DeWalt. I have like the little DeWalt. I don't have the atomic one, but some of the other journeymen, they have the atomic one. And then, some of the other people have like the little small Milwaukee. Like everyone has like these different bandsaws, and yeah, it works. Good point, Andrew. Like that, but my review on this one, this is the newest Milwaukee tool out. This is new for 2023. It has some really cool features that I was going through with like a worm drive to it and, different kinds of stuff that I really liked. Made it almost superior to any tool out there cordless. But the only problem is the Milwaukee battery. The Milwaukee battery sucks. I mean, it's so funny. So I was working out there with Lemonhead out at the plant, and I'd be like, "Hey man, let me use your Milwaukee." He'd be like, "Oh, all right, here you go." And then he'd give me a battery, and it didn't work. And I'd be like, "Hey, give me another one." And he's like, "Oh, here you go." Didn't work. And he's like, "Oh, here you go." No, I mean, he'd go through his whole bag of batteries, and I have a tool that doesn't work. None of his batteries are charged. And then you'd even have one, you'd have like 5 batteries and you'd have one, you're like, oh, cool, it's got some charge. And then you just like, by the time you walk away, it's like dead, and at least with DeWalt, that's the number one thing I like about DeWalt is their battery packs. They are highly superior. A 5 amp hour DeWalt will just crush a Milwaukee. I say they're pretty much equal between a Milwaukee 9 amp hour and a DeWalt 5 amp hour. They're about the same exact battery, but overall, I really have not tried this tool yet. I just saw it, just came out. It was released 2023, and I am stoked to try it out. I really want to see how it works. Looks like they made some improvements on it. It looks really strong for a Milwaukee. Milwaukee's usually kind of not a really strong tool.
It looks very solid. It looks like a very rugged tool.
Yeah, it's got bolts all over the place, and it looks like that worm drive is bolted in there really nice. So I'm really anxious to actually try this. So if anybody out there actually has this and likes it or whatever, hit me up on Nat King Code. All you have to do is hit Google Me 123 on Facebook or go on to the Willie Jackson podcast page, which Willie Jackson podcast page is off the hook, dude. Like, dude, I had 23% growth last year, and dude, I had 97% more content than everyone else in the category. And so if you want to check out the Willie Jackson podcast, you can go on Spotify and Willie Jackson podcast. Like I have James Stallcup as an interview on there a few times. I have just all kinds of different topics. My last episode, I did the January 6th insurrection. I called it Insurrection Day. But it was just funny. There's just so much funny stuff on there. I try to cover both sides of a topic. Like if people are arguing about stuff, I like to go take both sides of the argument and put them out there so you can kind of make your own decision. But it's a lot of fun. Willie is a total fictional character. Just to let you guys know, he is not real. I do not have mental problems and think I'm like 10 people. I am not Willie Jackerson. Willie Jackerson's like pretty much an awesome dude, but it's pretty awesome, you know. Yeah, and this is my Avalanche jersey. This is from the 2017 season, and I'm trying to get the Avs back on top. We're gonna win tonight against the Hawks. So shout out to Danny, Captain Danny, for showing up.
Who's in first in that division? I hadn't checked lately.
I think you guys are actually in second. You know who's first is the Winnipeg Jets.
We're first.
Really?
Yeah.
It's barely, because Winnipeg Jets are doing really good, man. Oh yeah, they lost. Yeah, the Jets lost to I think Detroit.
Yeah,
Detroit beat the Jets like 7-something. Yeah.
I was trying to. I know that Dallas, I think they've won like the last 2 or 3 games, something like that. They're playing really high level. So.
Yeah, that's funny, Andrew. Yeah. We can tell that he's over there from Texas. Dude, we might have a little.
There you go.
We might have a little beef between Andrew over there in Oklahoma City and James over there in Texas, but we'll have a little Red River Rumble going on. But
it depends if he's Oklahoma or Oklahoma State. Like my friend Travis, he's from Oklahoma. We're good friends, and he's a big Oklahoma State fan. He's my best friend. We're always jabbing each other back and forth.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, like especially with sports. We go back and forth. James always gives me crap, but we'll see in the playoffs. You know, we meet in the playoffs. You know what happens. You know, it's gonna be interesting.
Y'all better pick it up. Y'all ain't even in the wild card right now.
We're right there. You know.
Oh God. My OU wife, OSU. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure Bedlam goes over well.
Yeah. True. No, it's really awesome having you join, Andrew. It's really awesome for us to be able to give each other crap and just, talk crap back and forth. James's Stars are they're all right, but they're still from Dallas, so you know what I mean. Like they're not a real hockey team like the Avalanche, like the Avalanche. They're gonna kind of like bury you with a bunch of goals in the playoffs, and kind of go on that legendary run. So we'll see what happens,
I really don't even hardly keep up with it. The only reason I check the scores every now and then is just to give you a hard time. I don't really watch hockey, so.
No, Danny showed up. Captain Danny showed up from the Hockey Nation live show, and it's really awesome. If you guys want to check out really awesome hockey, go to the Hockey Nation live show. Coach Frenchie, he has a quiz at the end of every show, and it's a lot, not at the end of every show, but he does it like twice a week. But it's a lot of fun for everyone to kind of just guess these hockey facts and try to kind of know some stuff. And it's a lot of fun. We have a blast doing it. And just like we have a blast doing this. And dude, I'm telling you what, dude, Dad brought the heat tonight, man. That was freaking a good presentation. And I guarantee Mike Barr is not going to slouch up next week either. So it's really awesome to have these guests on. And we, if Mike wants to go first on his topic next week, that's fine too. I don't care mixing up our content or whatever we want to do.
It doesn't matter. We're still covered also.
Yeah, I think it's fun, and I hope everyone loved the meme of the week, especially William Curse. So if you're out there, William Curse, you got your birthday present for this year too, so.
Quit taping up one of my exes. I don't appreciate that.
Dude, I'm telling you, she took that Super 33 out of my tool bag, so I don't know what you're talking about, but
I told her to go with a heavier gauge, go 88. She don't listen.
yeah.
All right,
Well,
let's call it quits. I'm ready to go eat. I'm hungry.
I really
Gotta go play
appreciate
Cold Man Deep.
I really appreciate everyone joining this week. Thanks, Andrew, for joining. Yeah, and Andrew, I hope you like our memes that we do. But we're gonna try to do a meme of the week every week, and I think I even have the one for next week. So I try to tie it in with topics and everything. But really appreciate everyone joining, and remember, make every day an easy day.
Amen. Everybody have a good week. We'll see y'all next Thursday with Mac Barr, and the next week after that, we'll have Mark Candel's on from Candel Estimating. All right.
Shout out to Mark.
Peace.
Appreciate you.
Later, everybody.